So I'm finishing up sterilizing my jars. I got the pulp here boiling. And some people, they strain the pulp first and then they add the skins, and they don't strain the skins because they've sufficiently pulverized this mixture so the skins aren't even there. But I still have some traces of skins in there, so I'm gonna strain this whole thing together. So I'm gonna mix this all up. So now I'm putting this mixture through a strainer. This will get out the seeds and any remaining skins that I didn't break down. Still haven't decided whether I'm going to put pectin in this or not, or just boil it down to the thick consistency. You can do a test where you put a cold plate in the freezer and then you take it out and you put a drop or a tablespoon of the jelly mixture here on that plate. Put it in the freezer for a minute, and if it's a thick consistency, then that tells you that it'll stiffen up some more when you put it in the jars and then they cool off. So you don't necessarily have to use pectin because there's a natural pectin that comes that is in the grape itself. So let's see. So I've got it strained. I got this nice smooth consistency. I'm going to put it back in this pot here and add maybe, there's already a cup of sugar in here, so maybe 6 cups of sugar. Let's put this in here without splashing, hopefully. Here it goes. Now this is pretty watery because I added that initial 1 cup of water, so I don't know. Maybe I should just go ahead and add the pectin so I don't have to boil this down. So I'm putting 1 packet of Certo Sure Gel in here. Making sure to get it all out of there. Bring that to a boil. While stirring. You want to constantly stir this. You don't want it burning on the bottom there, or else you'll get a nice burnt flavor to your jelly. It says on the packet that if you use this Sure Gel, you can use 25% less sugar. So I'm really not going by any exact measurements here. I think I got maybe 1.5 quarts, 2 quarts here of liquid. And I'm going to be adding, I think I'm going to add 4 cups of sugar. I already have a cup of sugar in here, so that would be 5 cups. I think some recipes call for even more sugar. Let's see, let's add the sugar. Oh, that seems like a lot of sugar. It's already getting thicker. I'm also going to add a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice. So you can see I have this at a boil now, and I want to boil this for about a minute. Constantly stirring, you don't want to burn the bottom. And I ended up putting 4 cups of sugar in this whole mixture. I sampled some of this, just coated a spoon, and it seems pretty sweet to me. I added the lemon juice, and the lemon juice really seems to bring out the sweetness. Okay, so I boiled this mixture for over a minute, and now I'm going to ladle it into these sterilized jars, hopefully without contaminating them. I think you're supposed to have like a little funnel to help you get this in the jar without getting anything on the rim. But let's see what we can do here. And I wasn't sure if you were supposed to boil the lids too, so I had to go do a search on that, and because it did make sense just to boil the jars without boiling the lids. But I didn't know if you boiled the lids whether you destroyed the seal, whether it was just a one-time thing for the seals. But evidently, you know, it does make sense. You're supposed to boil, sterilize everything, the jar and the lids. Now leave a space, because it's important to have a little bit of air in there, because when you boil them, when you heat this up, the air expands and creates a vacuum in the jar, and then when it cools, the air contracts and helps seal. So put the lid on, and then just put these on finger tight. You don't want to put them on too tightly. Just fingertip tight, and then that goes in the bath. Well, unfortunately, my deepest pot here is not deep enough to cover the jars, so I figured I'd put a lid on it. You know, steam's supposed to be hotter than water, right? And seems to be some controversy, because I've seen some videos on YouTube where they don't cover the jar lids, but on the package itself for the jars, it says cover the jars by at least an inch of water. So let's see what happens here. I mean, I heard some popping going on, and then when they cool, the lid should be sucked down onto the jar. If it's popped, then, well, you have to eat it quickly because it's not going to store because air has gotten inside. I guess you could just have it in the refrigerator for a while. But I ended up with 4 jars, so, you know, I'll eat it quickly. But I have to make sure to get a pot, a canning pot, because this isn't deep enough. We'll see what happens once they're cool. So I think this just might work, because listen, when I turn this off, take the lid off here. Hear that? I think that's the sound of success. That's the lid being sucked down onto the jar just from that instant quick cooling there. And even a stronger vacuum will be created as these jars cool. And it's just like any other can that you would purchase in a grocery store. If this button is up, you know air has gotten inside, and you know, at least I know when these were made. I'll have them in the refrigerator, or I'll eat them pretty quickly. But you would definitely not eat a product out of the grocery store from a can that you saw had, you know, this button that was up. It's definitely a good indication that, you know, it's contaminated and air has gotten inside. So we'll give these 12 hours to cool, and we'll see what type of consistency the jelly has come out to. But this was interesting. I like this. I think I'll plant some more grapes, or at least use the grapes more than you know, the ones that I allowed to just, you know, fall. I should have picked these a lot earlier. I just didn't have the time, but geez, you really get appreciation of, you know, you made this yourself, you know, instead of just buying off the store, and you can control off the shelf, but you can control the ingredients that are in here also. I mean, you can determine how much sugar. There's no additives. I mean, I did use the Sure Gel. I don't know what chemicals are in that, but from what I've read, there's a natural pectin in grapes. So if you pick them at the right time and you cook them properly, get the right consistency, you can can them up without using the pectin, and just using sugar and grapes. You can't get any better than that. So I ended up with about a quart, or a little over 4 jars of the jam or jelly. They do seem to have sealed. You can see that the button is the top sucked down onto the top. A little note here, I think, you know, I thought that maybe the tightening of the rings is what helps create the seal, but it's really not the pressure from the ring that you're looking for. It's this rubber gasket. So when you're boiling these jars, air gets pushed out of the jar, and then when they cool, this gets sucked down onto the jar. So you can actually take these rings off after the jars have cooled. It's not, and you don't want to tighten these afterwards because you'll compromise the seal. It's actually just, you know, pressure that's sucking this lid down on top of the jar. So it's not the pressure on how tight you make these rings. But it's been about 36 hours now, and I came across a common problem that people have when they're canning, especially jams or jellies. This really hasn't congealed or thickened up that much. I mean, I don't want it so it's like, you know, the leading brand jelly where it's almost like you're trying to spread Jello onto a piece of toast and you're squishing the toast. So this is a common problem, and you just learn from trial and error and experience on how to get this to the right consistency when you're cooking in the first place. And some people use a method where they take a plate like this and they put it in the freezer for 10 minutes, and then they take it out and they put maybe a spoonful on the plate, throw it back in the freezer for about a minute, and when it comes out, if you press on it with your finger and it gets wrinkly and it's pretty stiff, at that point that's all the boiling you need to do, and you should get a pretty good consistency. But surprisingly, I mean, I used a whole packet of pectin, and usually that's for like maybe 2 quarts, and I only have a quart here. I did cut down on the sugar, which you know, I guess if you do cut down on the sugar, you might have to boil it some more. But also a little note that the longer you boil this, the more you're going to degrade the grape or the fresh flavor of whatever, you know, you're preserving. This here has got to be the grapiest flavor that I've ever had. You know, it's just that fresh. You're not going to get that from store-bought varieties. Now, I did see online that there is a little bit of controversy as whether or not I used liquid pectin, and some people think that the powdered pectin is better than the liquid pectin. But, you know, I think you just gain from experience to get this consistency where you can repeat it, and you know, you're going to get a good quality each time. But you know, this isn't a lost cause. I mean, I could keep this. I mean, it might stiffen up some more as the days go on, but you can actually recook this. So you can bring this back to a boil again, maybe add 1/3 of the package of the pectin, a little bit more sugar, although this is sweet enough for me. I mean, this is very sweet. So I would think maybe just boiling. But again, the more you cook this, you're going to reduce that fresh, in this particular case, that fresh grape flavor that is just very intense and fresh. And that's about it. Those are the couple of side notes that I wanted to mention. So it's not all a lost cause. I mean, this is pretty good. I mean, I don't put that on a muffin in the morning or some toast in the morning. That's pretty good. I've been just taking spoonfuls of this out of the jar myself. It's just so good. So there's my attempt at making some preserves, and although it wasn't perfect, it's pretty interesting, and definitely maybe start planting some more grapes, or I've got strawberries, and I look forward to definitely going to buy some more supplies, because you have to have, that's another thing, is you have to have a container. Some people don't completely submerge the jars. From what I've read, you want 1 inch of water on top of the jars when you're sealing them, and I didn't have a container that was deep enough, so I put a cover on it, and the steam, I mean, as soon as I put the cover on, I heard all of these lids pop. So again, you know, you want the right supplies before you attempt to do this, and there you go. It's grape jelly or grape jam. I think I'm still confused as to the terms. I know it's not preserves because it doesn't have any of the seeds. It does have a little bit of skin pieces, so that might be more of a jam. So again, give this a try, and you'll end up with the freshest jams and jellies that you've ever had. And I did, when I initially was looking for these jars, evidently there's a lot of other people doing canning, because at this time of the season it was very difficult to find canning jars. Everybody was sold out. So luckily I came across these jars, and so there's a lot of other people doing this. And so give it a try, and thanks for watching my videos again. Man, this stuff is just so good I can't I can't stop sampling it. I bet you this would just be great on vanilla ice cream. I have to give that a try.